You are part of the American workforce, the most productive people in the world. You deserve the best. You deserve a union.
Hello and welcome. I'm Charles Showalter. You're listening to the Union Edge, Labor's Talk Radio, proud member of the Working Family Radio Network. Thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate it. And this program is sponsored in part by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters and also the Communication Workers of America. Right now we're talking with Mike Langford, president of the Utility Workers Union of America. Mike, welcome back to the program.
Well, Charles, it's good to be with you this morning. I'm glad to be with you.
I appreciate it. Mike, you and the Utility Workers Union of America are a strong part of the Blue-Green Alliance. What's going on there?
Well, we've worked with Blue-Green over the years, and, we have teamed up this year for the year 2013 to really look at this whole utility infrastructure. If you look at what took place post Hurricane Sandy and the amount of damage that was done to the whole infrastructure in gas, electric, and water, it's just amazing. I mean, there is so many jobs that could be created. And the good thing about the storm is it did point out the vulnerabilities and the need for infrastructure reinvestment. If you look at electrical system that was designed in the 1930s, and they just keep patchworking it back together. You look at a water system that has wooden water pipes in the ground, which loses about 7 billion gallons of water a day due to leakage. I mean, that's an amazing amount of water. And it takes a lot of electricity to create fresh water. So you can see by repairing these, and you've got even wooden gas lines in the ground where there's homes blowing up around the country, subdivisions, and people are dying. The need to really invest there and the types of jobs that would create long-term. And you talk about greening up the economy, there would be less generation needed. You are getting a valuable resource such as water that's not just being pumped into the back into the rivers and the groundwater, being utilized in a more effective and efficient way. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, Charles. I mean, I could sit here and talk to you all day about this, but the need is just tremendous of creating good jobs and really shoring up and greening up the economy, just doing these fixes.
Mike, I don't think we have to look any further than the Super Bowl. I mean, the power,
exactly.
The power went out. I don't know if those are your members down there or not in Louisiana, but, goodness gracious, the power went out at the Super Bowl. Wow. We lose 30% of our electricity through the transmission lines. There's a lot of good jobs out there. That people could be put to work, and my goodness gracious, if we redid our power infrastructure, the people that we hired today would retire before we were done with the project, and it's something we need to do.
Well, that's it exactly. I mean, in this country, we operate about 157,000 miles of high voltage and transmission lines, and the demand continues to grow since the 90s. While construction of the whole transmission has decreased by about 30%, and the workforce has been depleted more by about probably 30 to 40% itself also. And they rely more and more on mutual aid from one utility to the next. But then what happens is, like when Hurricane Sandy hit, from all around the country, they sent line workers, substation workers, underground splicers, a variety of different type of workers in the electrical system to go to New York and New Jersey. Well, then Cleveland got hit hard with the same storm. Then they didn't have the proper people to manage the outage there. So, you can't just continue to skinny down and rely upon others, because then even when you get to a different utility, the systems are different. So the people aren't that productive because like at Con Ed in New York, Local 1-2 members had to literally babysit all the people coming in because they had to make sure that they were properly trained and doing the work safely. And rather than Con Ed hiring a sufficient amount of workforce, you're never going to have enough for a super disaster like this, but you should be manned well enough to be able to handle the day in, day out type of outages, and they just haven't done that.
Mike, not too long ago, I talked to one of the natural gas companies here in the Pittsburgh area, and they said they're screaming for people because the majority of their workforce is a little bit more seasoned than they'd like to see. They're closer to the retirement than they are to the start of their job. Why are we having problems recruiting, or is it the companies just don't want to hire? What's going on there?
It's not we're having problems recruiting. We we call it graying of the workforce. You could face 50% of the energy workforce being able to retire in the next few years here. 50%. And it takes a good 4 to 5 years to be fully qualified in any of these jobs. Because, I always said, you've heard me say before, our folks are first responders. They're out there rebuilding systems from the time of any type of disaster and putting it all back together, and if it's man-made or natural. But these companies, it's all about, if you look at the executive compensation and dividends on Wall Street, and it's not about the communities anymore that they're in. It's all about the privatization, it's executive compensation, and Wall Street dividends. That's what it's become. It's money makers. It's not about protecting our country, which it should be. That should be first and foremost. And the communities that pay the bills here, the consumer's getting ripped off right now, if you really think about it. They're not getting what they're paying for.
Mike, I've heard at some of the PUC meetings that the electric companies and water companies and some of the other utility companies are saying that they need to increase the millage rate, or the amount that they charge the customers, because they need to hire more people. But I don't think they're hiring more people. I think this is just going into profits. What's going on there?
They're not hiring more people. And if they're hiring more people, it's usually in the management ranks, the ones that aren't out on the front lines doing the work. If you go back and you look at the compensation of these CEOs around the country, you've got First Energy, which CEO makes, I believe, around $18 million a year. And they cover about 5 different states. They're in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Maryland, West Virginia. You look at the top wage of their executives, it's over the top. And then they keep coming after to want to eliminate the benefits of the working people that go to work and risk their lives day in and day out. That's where the money's going. Sure isn't going back into the workforce.
Mike, listen, I know you're a busy guy, but can I get you to stick around for one more segment? Because I'd like to talk to you about helmets to hard hats, where you guys are working very hard to get veterans trained so they can be hired by the utility companies. Can you stick around for one more segment?
Sure.
Fantastic. I'm Charles Showalter. You're listening to the Union Edge Labor's Talk Radio, sponsored in part by the Utility Workers Union of America, Local 537 and 102.
The International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 66, works with builders and contractors to build a better community. Local 66's tradesmen and women have received the specialty training needed to meet the complex challenges of any project, making them the most capable workforce in the region. From schools, highways, and pipeline projects to casinos and arenas, the operating engineers build any job, large or small. For over 100 years, Local 66 has provided superior service that our community can count on. They are your one-stop resource for qualified and productive operating engineers and heavy equipment mechanics. To learn more about the benefits of organized labor and more information about the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 66, go to www.iuoe66.org. That's www.iuoe66.org.
Members of the American Postal Workers Union handle more than 165 billion letters and packages a year. That's about 34 million pounds of mail every day. Ever wonder what this costs you as a taxpayer? Millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions? Not a single cent. The United States Postal Service doesn't run on your tax dollars. It's funded solely by stamps and postage. Brought to you by the men and women of the American Postal Workers Union.
This is Katie Dexter, Raffletree Media Works. We are a unionized media and web design firm. Our entire team are all members of International Brotherhood of Teamsters District Council 3, me included. Whether you are a large international or a small local, everyone is on a tight budget. We can still help you communicate with your members and the public effectively. There's no complicated computer programming or difficult software to learn. We are here to help you all the way. Visit www.appletreemediaworks.com.
Hey, Katie, what's your telephone number?
810-444-4080. That number is 810-444-4080. Visit www.appletreemediaworks.com.
Is America truly the land of the free when working families have to struggle to survive? Are workers free to achieve the American dream?
The Teamsters Union is North America's strongest union. We fight for our 1.4 million members and all of America's working families. Teamsters are fighting for the rights of the middle class in Washington, in state capitals, in city councils, and most important, in the workplace. Join us in the fight to keep the American dream alive.
Connect with the Teamsters Union at Teamster.org, Facebook, and Twitter.
In times of crisis, first responders are there for us. But who do they rely on? It's the men and women of the Utility Workers Union of America, ensuring our hospitals have reliable electricity, that our communities have a secure water supply, safe gas lines, and other critical services. We're the safest and most skilled workers in the industry. Utility workers, delivering vital services and a brighter future.
It's about the work. Work we're proud of. Work that provides the energy that powers America. Work that means our communities are stronger, better, for our families, our neighbors, for everyone. Just like you, members of the United Mine Workers of America are on the job, every day, working hard. It's what we do, and it makes America a better place. The United Mine Workers of America, working families just like yours.
The Union Edge Talk Radio Show. Often robust, but always respectful. Standing up for your working family.
Hello, welcome back. I'm Charles Showalter. You're listening to the Union Edge, Labor's Talk Radio, proud member of the Working Family Radio Network. Thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate it. This program is sponsored in part by the International Association of Firefighters Local 1 and AFGE in Local 1916, both of Pittsburgh, PA. Right now we're talking with Mike Langford, president of the Utility Workers Union of America. Mike, welcome back to the program.
Well, it's good to be with you, Chuck.
Thank you very much. Mike, you know, the Utility Workers has a really outstanding training program up in Chicago in conjunction with one of the community colleges. You're training not only veterans but others to be prepared to get utility jobs, working with utility companies. Tell us a little bit about that and how it's working.
Yeah, it's called the Utility Worker Military Assistance Program, and we've partnered up with the state of Illinois, with People's Gas Integris out of Chicago, our local 18007 there in Chicago that represents all the workers. But it's a great program. I know their intent is to train over the next 3 to 4 years approximately 350 to 400 people, and predominantly veterans, bringing them and getting them college credits, also the hands-on training that's needed to get them into a higher-rated job rather than an entry-level job within the gas utility industry there. And so far, it's been very, very, very successful. And again, we've engaged community colleges. We've got engagement from the state, Governor Pat Quinn. We've the president and CEO of Integris. It's been a great partnership, and just hearing from some of the folks that have gone through, some of the veterans, and how good the training is and the positive upbeat on people finding gainful employment, it's just been remarkable. I'm so proud of this program and our local up there and just everybody that's been involved with it. It's been a great, huge success.
Right now, we're talking with Mike Langford, president of the Utility Workers Union of America. Mike, why is it that the utility workers and your employers are looking so hard at veterans and working so hard to recruit them? What's the advantage there?
Well, you know, this is something that we're pushing with every employer out there that we represent as utility workers. You know, these folks, again, you hear me talk about first responders on the front lines. Well, I mean, the similarities, I mean, these people have been in Iraq and Afghanistan and other wars, these veterans, and they're on the front lines. You know, they face imminent danger at all times. just like a utility worker. They have rebuilt and reconstructed infrastructures of all these things that we're talking about, gas, electric, and water, in these other countries. What not better folks to come in and get engaged into an industry that they're pretty familiar with. Their workmanship is stellar, and folks that's coming out of the military need a fair shake. And I think it's a responsibility that we owe our veterans to get them gainful employment.
Mike, can this program be replicated anywhere else in the United States?
Oh, yes, very much so. And that's our goal, is we're trying to work with every utility throughout the country. Some utilities, they just can't give up the conceived control of things. And this is not taking any control away. It's actually giving people opportunities. But, it's just we have to show that it's working well, and the project in Chicago is a stellar program, which I think we can showcase anywhere. But, yes, it can be duplicated anywhere.
Mike, if I am a customer, well, obviously everybody here in the United States is a customer of one utility or another, and they would like to see their utility companies hiring vets, getting trained, pre-trained, so to speak, before the job by the Utility Workers Union of America, and making sure that everybody's on the same sheet of music with that training. What do we have to do? Do we call our utility companies or what?
You could call them. You could write them. They all have web sites and Facebook pages nowadays. And you could just make a comment, make mention that, they should join in with the UMAP program sponsored by the Utility Workers and the Power for America Training Trust. They could go to the P4A training site and website and probably read a lot about the whole program itself. But, yeah, I would encourage folks to encourage they're paying the rate. They're paying the bills. They should have a say-so in how this hiring is done and, who's being hired. So,
yeah, that's the Power for America website, right?
Yes.
Good website, good training website. Mike, in addition to the initial training that the utility workers in conjunction with the local community colleges can put together for either military members or other people who want to get a job in the utilities business, as members of the Utility Workers of America, they're also entitled to the National Labor College. And I'm very proud to report to you that not long ago, one of your members in Cleveland heard our radio program and decided it was time to join the National Labor College. So that's another benefit that your members get, correct?
Yes, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. And that's the power of being able to communicate and, all the social media. And, that's how we're going to turn this country around, is education and getting people good jobs. And these are good jobs,
Absolutely. Mike, we got about 2 minutes left. Anything else the listening audience should know?
Well, I just want folks to realize that the Utility Workers is going to go on a campaign across this country of creating jobs. We want to educate all the legislators, all the regulators, the communities on what's needed in the infrastructure rebuild and how they're getting shortchanged, and they need to contact their congressman. They've spent $50 billion on restoration with Sandy. Well, we don't need to rebuild the system the same old way. We need to look at the new technology. We have to put smarter systems in place and look at the geographics of where we're at. Is it hurricane prone? Is it flood prone? And really rebuild the systems to what makes sense instead of just doing a patch job on 1930, 1920 technology. And we're asking for support from around the country to help us educate everybody in the communities and the politicians and embarrass them into putting money into the infrastructure. I hate to say it that way, but that's what it's going to take.
Hey, sometimes that's what it takes. And folks, by the way, call your congressman, call your senator, 202-224-3121, 202-224-3121. Mike, I want to thank you very much for spending some time with us today. We appreciate it. And if there's anything at all that we can do to help with this project, please just count on us, okay?
All right, Charles, it's been great speaking with you and your viewers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike Langford, President of the Utility Workers Union of America. I'm Charles Showalter. You're listening to The Union Edge, sponsored in part by the Fairfax County Federation of Teachers and the D.C. Building Trades, Washington, D.C.